let's break this down further. I have joining me via Skype from Abuja, Associate Director, Tax Advisory and Regulatory Services, Anderson Tax, Mr. Michael Ango. Thank you very much, Mr. Ango, for joining us on the show.
Good afternoon. Thank you for welcoming me to your studio. Remotely, of course.
All right, then, thank you so much. I want to start with projections by the FIRS. We knew what they said earlier in the year and even late last year, talking about projections. Now, let's face reality on ground. What are you expecting? Already, there is a drop in what already came in for the month of January when we look at the records. What more are we seeing looking at the COVID-19 pandemic and its effect on the global economy?
Okay, so I think we need to start first by understanding the components of revenue that FIRS collects. So FIRS has two broad components. They have non-oil taxes and they have oil taxes. So the non-oil taxes are the company income tax, value-added tax, stamp duties, and the personal income tax, etc. The oil taxes, on the other hand, is petroleum profit tax, gotten from oil revenues. And that is the one that has really taken a massive hit because, of course, the global crude price has fallen. But in terms of the other projections of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, they've had quite a very impressive collection in the first quarter of the year. Based on the results that were released, FIRS declared 1.2 trillion for the first quarter of the year. And I think they said that in recent times, that was the highest amount collected in the first quarter of the year, which historically is slow. So to that extent, I think that in terms of collection for the first quarter, they've not been hit significantly by the COVID-19 pandemic. But going forward, I think that FIRS might have to sit down and relook its target. Of course, the petroleum profit tax target of, I think, about 3.6 trillion of the 8.5, which was about 42%, needs to be revised downwards. And I think they're already doing that. For the other non-oil taxes, the company income tax, the value-added taxes, I think they need to then see and examine what the impact has been on the economy in terms of what they expect to collect from those taxes. Having said that, let me clarify that the company's income tax that will be paid this year is based on the results of companies from 2019. So again, you may not see a significant impact on the company income tax collection. But value-added tax, there's been an increment from 5% to 7%, so 7.5 rather. So we will expect to see some bump. How much of that bump will be impacted by the shutdown in the economy for the past 1 month is what remains to be seen.
In all of this, at the time, we talked so very much about the Finance Act. Many even said this was a real welcome development, talking about our budgeting process. With the situation on ground, where does that stand at the moment?
Well, I have to tell you, as a tax consultant and someone who has even worked in the FIRS for close to a decade, the Finance Act was supposed to be a game changer. A game changer in the sense that it was the first time we're passing the Finance Act in about 23 years, over 2 decades. But more importantly, what the Finance Act sought to do was to respond to complaints from industry, from taxpayers, from tax practitioners, to say that our tax laws were not being responsive. So the expectation was that the Finance Act was, going to be like an annual exercise, whereas issues that had been noted in the past year would be addressed in the Finance Act. So you had, for example, the increment in VAT in the Finance Act. You had the exemption of small companies from payment of companies' income tax. You had reduced rates for medium companies and all of that. Unfortunately, at the time the Finance Act was being passed, nobody could have envisaged the challenges that would come from COVID-19. But having said that, it is still a very useful document to the extent that it has set out certain things that I think, if implemented, will assist the FIRS in implementing its tax laws. I'll pick one just of the lot, and that has to do with the taxation of the digital economy. And that's a particular favorite of mine because that is one area of the Nigerian economy that has been neglected for a while. How that will be impacted again by COVID-19 remains to be seen. But I think what the FIRS and the authorities, Federal Ministry of Finance, need to start doing is to find out the areas of the Finance Act that can be implemented in order to bring revenue and help them move towards achieving their 8.5 trillion target. But like I said, the Finance Act is going to be for a 1-year period. It might be revised next year. So we'll wait to see how FIRS implements it and then what the impact of the implementation is.
Now, if we are seeing what is playing out in the oil sector, we've seen what's happened between Saudi Arabia, Russia, all of the negative effects now, even seeing Nigeria offering to sell barges of crude at a lesser rate. We now want to shift to non-oil, and we still have challenges even moving products outside the country because of COVID-19. Where do you see us balancing the books one way or the other, talking about getting revenue? The minister has come out to say publicly that there's a challenge of revenue. And with all of this, it looks like it's more challenging.
So if you had free storage, I would have asked you to buy a barrel or two of Nigerian crude and store it. But unfortunately, that is our reality today. And, for those who have been shouting about diversification of the economy, I think this really strengthens it. In fairness to government, they have also, focused on diversifying the Nigerian economy, because we always knew that, basing our economy on a resource which we didn't control. We don't control the price of oil. So we've seen, Saudi and Russia going to the price war, and all of a sudden, two elephants are fighting and the grass is suffering. But having said that, I think that there are certain buffers in our economy that we can look at. So we've looked at it, agri, for example. I've mentioned things like the digital economy. But again, the Nigerian economy, at its best, is a thriving one. And what I mean by that is that we have a population of 200 million. You can't discount on us that it's a very large market. So for me, things like value-added tax, the stamp duty, which was introduced in the Finance Act, will be areas that the FIRS should look at very closely. For the larger government, I think the Ministry of Finance is aware of the challenges we have, and they are looking to augment whatever deficit will be in the budget from external borrowing. We've already accessed 3.4 billion from the IMF. I think that will be the way to go in the short term. In the long term, of course, is to strengthen the economic indices within the country to ensure that we're able to tax Nigerians appropriately, collect that which is due, and also ensure that we use those revenues to build the economy, because really this is where government is going to find its revenue. We cannot always continue to depend on oil. We cannot always continue to depend on whether external or domestic borrowing. At the end of the day, the Nigerian economy must finance itself through taxation. You boost the economy, you develop your infrastructure, you fix your port, and then you fix your financial sector, and then people are able to access loans at very low rates, engage in business, and then pay their taxes to government. So I'll say that in the short term, what the government is doing is essentially saying, look, we're looking to external sources to find some buffers. In the long term, we have to look inward, which they will say they've been doing, and I think they have been doing, but it's hard work. It's not a tea party. It's something that is not going to happen overnight, but hopefully with focus, we'll get it right.
Michael, let's now look at budget again, Nigeria's 2020 budget. We see already there's been a review of that document facing realities of what we face at this time. But infrastructure remains something that everybody's craving for. Everybody wants infrastructure development, particularly in a country like Nigeria. Already, some of this, what ought to have been meant between January and now, there are challenges because of the COVID-19 and all of that. Where do you see us standing, or where do you see Nigeria standing when it has to do with infrastructure development at this time, which is something that we really need for us to be able to move this economy and get it working? We know what we're facing, even with regards to growth, as regards GDP and all of that with Nigeria.
So your question is the triple-barreled one. I'll answer the first one. I'll answer the first one, which is say for me, at this time, I think I'll not be in a hurry to rush another budget to the National Assembly, and I'll tell you why. So the revised budget has projected crude prices at $30 a barrel, but as you and I know today, Bonnie Light is trending at $16, and we even offer discounts, like you said in your broadcast, and then we still don't have off-takers. So I'll say hold on and see what happens in the next 30 days or thereabouts. Now, for the infrastructure projects that had already been earmarked in the budget, thankfully, some of them already, I think that federal government has secured funding for them, especially we know for things like the railways, where we've gotten, loans from the Chinese, etc. So for those ones, I think they will continue on stream. For the other infrastructure projects that we're hoping to fund from the 2020 budget, government may have to take a second look at that. So already we know that there's been a cut in projected capital expenditure by about 300 billion naira. That's a drop in the ocean. government will have to be much more creative. And I think without sounding like a broken record, we have to cut down the size of government. We have to cut down government expenditure, especially on recurrent issues, and try to channel more of our expenditure into infrastructure. If we have rail lines that function efficiently, our ports function efficiently, business moves, and that's really where the cash is, If you spend on your infrastructure will pay you in the long run. So I think that for me, my advice is that let us focus on those areas of infrastructure that can give us quick returns. The rail lines are one. We need to fix our roads. We need to fix our ports. We need to fix our waterways. We can move things, through the waterways. Why should, tankers have to carry containers from the port, for example? If we can't use the rail lines, then we can use our inland waterways, move things from Lagos into the hinterlands and all of that. So that of course, again, none of these things are quick fixes. It's a reality. COVID-19 is here with us. We need to put on our creative thinking caps, which I believe the government is doing, and let's be positive and hope that we'll begin to see positive results in the near future.
Michael, talking about thinking caps now, before we round off this interview, you are an advisory agency or company. You advise clients, telling them what to do when it comes to taxes and other issues. Now, with the view of things and the change globally, when you sit on the table as we move on in the year, what would be the kind of advice? What kind of advice would you give clients moving on now, talking about international deals, businesses, and all of that?
Well, thanks for the free advert. Yes, I do work for Anderson Tax, and we're a top-notch advisory firm. So it all depends again. Clients will usually determine where they want to put their money on based on different parameters. Of course, there are certain things that clients look at. Every company is in business to make profit. But again, sometimes, you go to places where you think the economy, for example, is suffering, because then if you inject cash, if you bring in investments, those investments are likely to be successful because, again, there's a market for that. So if, for example, I projected to bring in $1 million into the Nigerian market at 305 naira to a dollar, now I'll be getting about 360 naira to a dollar. So again, Nigeria stands to gain in the sense that investors might come here. On the other hand, investors also want to go where they feel that there's infrastructure, there's stability in policies, there's good legislation and all of that. So these are challenges for government. I think at this stage, government should do everything. We need to review some of our laws that will attract investment. If we need to give tax incentives and waivers, we should do that. We should encourage companies, for example, who want to come in and invest, in agri, in manufacturing. And when I say manufacturing, I don't mean, just goods that we consume here, but goods that we import. We need to look at things like setting up export-free zones and incentivizing even Nigerian companies to invest back into the Nigerian economy. Like I said, it's going to be a tough work, but we've survived it before. We will survive it again. We've had clients who have said to us, look, we want to bring in money to the Nigerian economy, but the sector of the economy we want to invest in does not have tax incentives. So I think clearly government needs to look at things like, giving tax holidays and relaxing some of the rules to allow investors come in and bring in money that will stay in Nigeria, not just hot money that will come in and go out immediately.
Indeed, I don't think government will have a choice than to follow that part. Michael Ango is an Associate Director, Tax Advisory and Regulation, Anderson Tax. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us this afternoon on Business Nigeria.